In this video, we're going to learn how to take a little piece of shaky footage. In this case, I just captured it outside on a sunny day with my phone. And we're going to replace an element within that footage and then match the motion of the camera so it looks like the new element belongs there. So if you take a look right here, I've already done this project, but we'll do it again together. If I play this video, it's going to be a little bit of windy audio in the background. We can take care of that. And you can see that I've intentionally allowed my hand to drift back and forth so I can get some good motion in the camera. And we'll be replacing this sign right here. So to do that, I could take a picture of a new sign if I wanted to, or I could make a sign from scratch in Photoshop, which I really encourage you to do. But in my case, I just downloaded a picture from the internet. And part of the reason that I picked this picture is it has a similar lighting environment and the camera angle is the same, so it's pretty much straight on. I guess in my video, we're looking a little bit from below, right? So I'm underneath the sign a little bit. However, it's slight enough that it shouldn't matter. And if it does stick in my eye, I can fix that in Photoshop. So our first step is going to be to take this and to open it in Photoshop for isolation. Now, if you've never done this kind of isolation before, we'll be using the pen tool. And the pen tool is, it's easy to pick up but hard to master, is one way of thinking about it. I've worked for years and years with it, and if you're new to it, it can be frustrating. But I guarantee if you keep working in digital programming, it's worth putting in that time. So what the pen tool lets you do is take a pixel base or raster image, right? So this image is made up of a grid of pixels, and then we get to identify certain areas of the image with a vector shape. So a vector shape is not constrained by resolution. It's a visual expression of math. So in Photoshop, at least, it's P for pen. And the top of my stop sign is going to be simple. Anywhere that I see a corner, I'll just make a single click. And each of those single clicks is laying down what's known as an anchor point. So a single click just means location, right? So this anchor point should sit right here. And then I get these line segments that connect subsequent anchor points. Now where things get a little more tricky is when we come down here and we start to have some curve information. So let's zoom in a little bit. And then I'll find my spot. And now when I'm zoomed in, you can see that each of my clicks in some cases weren't perfectly accurate. As long as that anchor is still selected, I can use the arrow keys and get it into a better location and then keep going. Now when it comes to curves, I lay down my anchor, but this time I hold down the mouse button and I start to stretch it out a little bit. And you see I get what's called a tangency handle. So that little handle that grows out of the anchor at the center gives information not just about location, but also about angle and severity. So if I have a little curve, it's just going to be a short little handle like that. And if I have a bigger curve, it's going to be a longer one. So here I put in these handles. Sometimes you see the curve starts out not strong enough and I make the handle longer in order to meet the edge I'm looking for. And sometimes I'll change the angle in order to find that edge. Okay, so we're going to go all the way around like so. If you're just getting started out in the pen, you'll probably need a little time to practice so that you know where to click like I am. And even if you get all the way around and things don't look perfect, that's absolutely fine because we'll be able to change this as we go. Okay, now down here on the right, if your screen looks like mine, you'll usually have layers showing, but you also want to be able to see your paths. And if they're not currently active, you can find that in the window area. So here's layers, and then paths is right here. We can get that to pop up as well. So I'll head over to my path. This is currently called work path, which is just sort of the default name. And now I'll go up to layer in the menu, down to vector mask, because the pen tool, after all, creates vector graphics. And we'll say current path. So what that's going to do is mask out all the material in this image, except for the material that's found within the path that I just created. If I head over here and I select the white arrow, I can click and make the path go away, and then we can see little tiny imperfections in my edge. So now I can come in here and I can change the severity or the magnitude of that arc, and then I'm trying to sort of chip away at that little shadow that's being created right there. Maybe I dig a little deeper, come inside the form a little bit more, something like that. And so we'll go all the way around and make this absolutely perfect. Now this is usually not a super engaging thing to watch, so just rest assured that I've taken the time to create a Photoshop document where my edges I feel like are absolutely perfect. And a little bit of shadow on the edge might not be the worst thing in the world because we are, after all, trying to show what is although flat, a three-dimensional object. It is going to be subject to light and shadow. Okay, and the last thing I'll do is grab the crop tool. I have some numbers up here, so I'll clear those out so that we're not restricted in our aspect. And I just want to get that crop looking pretty good, relatively tight on my form, so that I'm not trying to center an image that has all this weird negative space over here to the side. So I'll hit Enter to accept that, and then I'll go to File, Save As, and save this as a Photoshop document. Okay, so once we have that isolation done, we're ready to pull it up in After Effects and integrate it into our video.